Eagles, though, they're basically telling a big FU to the rest of the league, as no one expected them to be perhaps the class of the NFC. You look around the NFC and you see a lot of broken teams, a lot of teams with question marks. And meanwhile, the Eagles just keep chugging along. Jalen Hurts was the biggest question mark coming into the year. And Jalen Hurts has been the answer that they've been asking for at quarterback, at least this season. We don't know what it means long-term for Jalen Hurts, but at least this season, Jalen Hurts has not hindered this team in any faculty. In fact, in many ways, he's made them better. He's made them tough. He makes them tough to game plan against because of what he's able to do with his athleticism. And you add the playmakers on the outside, A.J. Brown and Davante Smith. And so far at this point, this Philadelphia offense has been a nightmare. Also led by a scrappy defense. Have we bought into the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, I am in on the Philadelphia Eagles in the sense that I thought the Cowboys would win the division at the start of the year, and Philadelphia is clearly a better. I didn't understand the Eagles hype at the start of the season. Now I've seen the evidence that understands why people were so high on Philadelphia. They are a really, really good team. And by the way, you know how we always talk about the Josh Allen, like you can't teach completion and accuracy. Jalen Hurts has gone from being a 52% passer to a 66% passer. And that 52 was only in like 4 games, so like small sample size. Last year's probably closer to what he was, which was 60% completion percentage. But 60% completion percentage is like slightly better than Drew Lock was with the Broncos. So like to go from that to a 66% completion percent, again, small sample size, need more data to show what it is. But Jalen Hurts has looked really, really good this year. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is MVP good. He's been very good. He's been a serviceable quarterback, and he has an extension coming up this offseason. And if they can pay him $120 million, they might do it. But if they have to pay him $200 million, they probably won't do it. And it's a classic franchise tag situation. So Jalen Hurts has had a fantastic season. I mentioned in another video that they have a plus 12 turnover differential this year, which is 8 turnovers more than the next closest team in the entire league, which probably explains how they have the number 1 defense in the league right now, is that they are forcing a ridiculous amount of turnovers.
And we mentioned that turnovers are a fluky stat, but I can buy into the turnover production from the Eagles a little bit more just because I know that they have playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. I know that defensive line could really get after people, and I know that Darius Slay, they call him Big Play Slay for a reason. And I go back to that game on Monday night against the Vikings, and he was making a nightmare for Justin Jefferson. Kirk Cousins went to bed that night dreaming of Darius Slay and his nightmares because he was everything that they wanted when they traded for him a couple years back. Now we're sort of starting to see, well, Howie Roseman turn things around in Philadelphia, which is funny. Which is really funny given all the shit that Howie Roseman had been getting off of the Super Bowl. Like, the way people talked about Howie Roseman, we would have thought he was a bum. We would have thought he was, as you call, like Suge White, Steve Kine. That's the way that people kind of like talk about Roseman. It was mostly all just for, if we're going to be honest about the Howie Roseman burying him, mostly for the misses at wide receiver. And I get it. Justin Jefferson, Jalen Reagor will be one of those that we always just look back on and say, damn, that really happened. But you look at what they've done with this year's team, they still end up with a franchise wide receiver in A.J. Brown and another one with Davante Smith. Both guys have really changed how Jalen Hurts. I think what has contributed to Jalen Hurts' development the most? Is it Nick Siriani? Is it the playmakers? Is it the offensive line play? It's probably more explainable by an amalgamation of all three, but the fact that the Eagles were able to identify what they needed to do to help Jalen Hurts and get him to that next step is nothing short of fantastic when you talk about what can a front office do to build around a quarterback. We had a big discussion on Kyler Murray and can the Arizona Cardinals build around him? Well, the Eagles have demonstrated if push comes to shove, they can build around a Jalen Hurts. Could they have built around a Carson Wentz? Could they have built around Nick Foles? I mean, in at least that Super Bowl run, they were able to do it under a Nick Foles. So the fact that this front office and this franchise has shown that they've been able to evolve under different quarterbacks, I think is a true testament to what the Philadelphia Eagles organization is.
Not to skip the story there about, remember when Doug Peterson tanked the last game of his Eagles tenure and there was that whole controversy because the Giants couldn't make the playoffs instead of the 7-8-1 Washington team? Well, the difference between that victory and that loss was the difference between pick 6 and picks 10 in the draft. They traded down from 6 to 12 and got Devonta Smith. So that tank ended up netting them an extra first round pick. That first round pick, they then flipped because New Orleans took that draft pick this year, and New Orleans moved up in the draft last year. So the Eagles are still collecting that extra first round pick from a single Doug Peterson tanked game. They got 2 first round picks to move down from 6 to 11, originally the spot they were going to get. And they still have that extra first round pick at their disposal because they could just keep trading back. So shrewd decision making by them as well. And yeah, Philadelphia has made good moves drafting and good moves trading, and it's turned into something great. And I know, you know how we talked about turnovers earlier. Yes, turnovers are signs of a sporadic defense, but there are other statistics that say the Eagles are a good defense. DVOA on defense has them ranked 5th in the NFL. Pass rush win rate, which is one of those advanced analytics that gets cited all the time, they're 6th in the league. Pass block win rate, they're 7th in the league. So they have a top 10 offensive line and a top 10 defense at preventing pressures and getting pressures on the quarterback. And like I said, their defense is ranked 5th. Their offense is ranked 11th in the league. They're a very, very good team. The Philadelphia Eagles are a very, very good team. And they are the only team I point to in the NFC and say they are great. Now, the 49ers, health permitting, are also great, but they're the only team I can point to in the NFC and say, hey, they are as good as Baltimore, Buffalo, and Kansas City. I mean, not as much Buffalo and Kansas City, but Baltimore is a good comp. Like, they are as good as that team, and they are as good as the San Francisco 49ers. And I would love to watch the 49ers play the Eagles in the playoffs.
Would love to see that too, because it means the Niners made the playoffs. So I can't complain about that myself. As far as that goes, I just hope that, as you mentioned, can the 49 IRs make it to the playoffs, win the division, and compete against the Philadelphia Eagles? That's a question mark that I'll have to answer. But if that matchup was to happen, I would say, unfortunately for the Niners, the Eagles do have a quarterback that tends to pose problems for the 49ers. Regardless of health, the Niners have always struggled around these more mobile quarterbacks that can shift the pocket. All gas, no brakes does tend to have its problems when you send all the gas on the blitz and break contain. And that's something the Niners have done plenty of times. And I think a guy like Jalen Hurts can take advantage of and exploit that if it comes down to that matchup. We actually saw it against Marcus Mariota this past week. Eagles do have the ability to do that, and that would cause problems in that matchup. You look against the Vikings, they show they can bully the Vikings. The Vikings aren't really a physical team. The Eagles are a physical team, and I think that would translate to think about other playoff contenders. I think that they could probably bully someone like the Packers. We know that the Giants aren't really ready from an offensive playmaking perspective to be able to compete at that level.
Ooh, Tampa. Tampa would be great. Tampa, watching that would be awesome.
And you know, they really would want that Tampa matchup, given what Tampa did to them in last year's playoffs. I'm sure there's a lot of guys in that locker room that look at that matchup and think of that as one of their benchmark games, right? What they can do against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the Eagles, they certainly are Super Bowl contenders. You have to put them in that tier just because you look at the road through the NFC and they realistically can win. And certainly, obviously, they're the number 1 seed. They just need to win a couple games to put themselves in that position. If they can maintain and stay as the number 1 seed, get that first round bye, then they have the luxury too, also being a Northeastern power, open air stadium. They also get to play in some bad weather games too, which other teams that don't have to deal with the conditions at that level, who knows if they're going to be ready for those type of conditions. So the Eagles have some stuff going in their favor in that respect. And then you look across, because obviously we would have to look across to the AFC and see the teams they stack up against there. Well, then you're going to have question marks. Can that defense do enough to pose problems for Patrick Mahomes? Can they slow down a Josh Allen? You know, that's
but any other team they can.
That's gonna be tight.
I will say any other team in the AFC they can. It's just only against Buffalo and Kansas City does it not stack up for them.
I saw the Miami Dolphins put a game plan that posed problems for Josh Allen. I've seen teams all last year pose a game plan that caused problems for Patrick Mahomes. So it's not impossible. It's certainly something that you can do. And hey, if you're one of those old school storyline writers, you would say Eagles, Andy Reid, Super Bowl. That might be a fun storyline to go in. And we talk about potential fun Super Bowl matchups, not to get the Philadelphia Eagles fans too hyped up.
No,
we're still only in week 7.
Don't do that.
We're still only in week 7, y'all. But bye week, this is a good opportunity to reflect and admit if we were wrong. I thought the Eagles were going to be able to compete within the NFC East. I didn't expect them to compete at this level, but I was wrong in the sense that I underrated them. Maybe I didn't underrate them necessarily as much as my co-host, but I did underrate the Eagles nonetheless. So I can at least say I was wrong in that respect.
I was also wrong as well. And I think talking this out, I realized the thing that I want really badly is for the Eagles to play a team with a great defense. I would love to see what that team, and I'm thinking back to their schedule. I don't think they've played any great defenses this year. I know they played Arizona and Minnesota and Washington,
the Cowboys,
Detroit,
you
which
would
is a
say
bad.
but I think Cooper Rush did enough to ruin the Cowboys' chances in that game. And he literally had a 1 QBR. One.
Yeah.
A
singular QBR. I just want to see them play a great defense.
So you're not going to like some of the answers, but when they face the Giants, that is, we'll see a little bit from that
I'm
offense.
talking about, I think I'm talking about elite.
Well, they play the Packers in a few weeks, so that's going to be another interesting game to check out. The Colts are a really good defense, and unfortunately, we don't get to read much into that game because we know the Colts offense is awful. But the fact that we get to see the Eagles offense go against that Colts defense, I think will provide potential answers for you. They face the Saints later in the year. That's really late in the year, January 1st.
I think the thing I'm saying, though, is an elite defense. Like, these are good defenses. I think I'm talking about, like, an elite defense. And I think that's why I said the playoff matchups that most intrigue me are San Francisco and Tampa, because those are elite defenses. Those are, I think, only behind Buffalo, the second and third ranked defense in the NFL last time I checked. So I understand. I respect the Colts defense. I respect Dallas's defense. I respect many of these teams. I just want to see them go up against.
I like how you made it a point to say you don't respect the Giants, basically by omission.
Giants are ranked 21st in defense in DVOA. Giants are built on their offense somehow. I don't understand how that works.
We're doing a video to attract Eagles fans here, so clearly they're not going to mind the disrespect to the New York Giants. So hey,
no, I understand.
You agree with us. We're digging on your rival a little bit here, so just give us some love.
I want to see them play elite defense. Play one of the best defenses in the league. That's what I'm really interested to see for Philadelphia.
Well, I guess we won't see it in the regular season just based off looking on the schedule, but nonetheless, it means good things for you as an Eagles fan because you look at the next few weeks coming off the bye. I see some wins here. You face the Steelers. You face the Texans. You face the Commanders. There's no reason to think that the Eagles can't realistically start the season 9-0. And at that point, everything is just gravy. You're well on your way to being the number 1 seed, Philadelphia. We'll see how it works out for you in the playoffs. Anyway, guys, what do you think about this start to the Eagles? Do you like them against some of those AFC teams we talked about? Do you think they could stack up against the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs? Would like to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us on social media. We have Kyle Ledbetter here. We have Juju here. Stay safe, happy, and healthy. We'll see you in the next one.